So there's our dinner guest for the deck dinner. That one's been hanging around. Hi, buddy. And here's the dinner. So, butterfly. And this is the dessert. And this is the meal. And it's sort of similar to what I have in the morning and what I'm having now, and I'll talk about that. That's my glucosamine strawberry sour cherry slushie. James has this and this, and I guess I'll get him some water or something. He's going to start talking about whatever it is he wants to talk about. I'll show you my outfit first, I guess, because it's really sunny, so I get to wear short shorts. And so this is what I wore hiking underneath. It wasn't this shirt, but this one, see, it has see-through things too. But the one I was wearing was kind of see-through-ish, and we were worried that I'd get a sunburn through it, but I didn't.
It didn't? Wow.
Yeah, so it protects from the sun and it's light. And I don't know if this one would do the same, but I'm going to have to try it sometime, and it might not work out great for me, right, when you try it. Anyway, so I'll bring this in. I'm very happy with my outfit today because it's a warm day. So there you go. Enjoy. So as I said, I'd recommend you eat that part first. What I did is James had leftover Greek salad. I just put some really thinly sliced apple with it because he has a hard time chewing apple.
Yeah. Right, so I'm going to talk a little bit more about On the Assassins of the Trail. And the book is called On the Trail of the Assassins, so I'm making a little bit of a pun there. One of the Assassins of the Trail is kind of like Jim Garrison. And I think the last time I was talking about this, might have been yesterday on our podcast up in Waterton. I said, Jim Garrison, you know, like was on the trail of one member of the CIA. The CIA kind of, well, at first they were hiding the fact that this Clay Shaw that Garrison was trying to prosecute wasn't a member of the CIA. He was, by the admission of the CIA, at the very least something like a contract agent. I think he was a full-time agent. At any rate, he was, according to at least one witness, Perry Russo, who was hanging. I think he was.
I brought him chocolate milk. Well, it's chocolate almond milk, actually.
That's great. It's just like chocolate.
So could you drink this today? You've been putting off drinking the green juice.
Yeah, I know. It's hard on my digestive system.
So I'll talk about the meal for a minute while James drinks his green juice. But anyway, you may have noticed that his butterfly wings, the big top wings, are toast. So it's Carbonaut with tahini spread on it, which doesn't add a lot of calories and stuff like that. It doesn't add a lot of net carbs, but it does add a lot of omega-6 fatty acids. So have to balance that out somehow with flax. Or yesterday during the Waterton junk food picnic, which wasn't totally junk food because we had some the vegan keto salmon caviar, which it's not salmon at all. It's just chia seeds made with red bell pepper juice. So anyway, to make it red, we had that, and so that has a lot of omega-3 in it, the chia seeds, and so yeah, we'll see today what we end up feeding James later on. So I asked my angels for raspberries, and I got raspberries given to me, but as you can see, they're not they're pretty mushy, but there weren't any moldy ones, So I don't know what happened to those, if they got squished, like if the package got squished or something, because when I was licking my fingers, they tasted great. So I think he'll be able to eat them just like that. But if not, then later on in the day, I'll make them into a smoothie for him, and he'll love it. So, yeah. So in the morning, what I have, it's part of my ritual. I have I guess it's sort of like an omelet, an egg white thing, and I
just egg whites.
Yeah, it's just the whites, and I put usually some salt and pepper on it, but just now I did not. I always put chipotle powder on it to spice it up a little bit, and then I put the garlic and Brussels sprouts, sliced Brussels sprouts on it, and I have them thinly sliced so they cook fast, and then so I cover it over, and then I flip it, and then anyway, it's and then, well, this is the you'd know this is the red ruby kraut, and so that adds the probiotic, and I didn't put the salt this time, right, because I have the kraut, and so that's plenty salty enough. And plus, this time I gave myself a treat, since I was squeezing out the body of the butterfly onto James's thing with the dairy-free cheese, cheddar, dairy-free cheddar. Then I decided, oh well, I'll squeeze a little bit on mine. So, but this is how my egg is in the morning, and lately, because we've been continuously given free eggs, and I'm very thankful for them. So why not use the protein? It's like a sign, oh, I guess I'm supposed to eat the egg whites. So I have been, even though I'd prefer the Vega Sport, but what can you do? The egg whites are working. So anyway, the Carbonaut, I have, where James has that chocolate coconut on it, which adds a fair amount of calories and adds some net carbs too. I have cinnamon, just ground cinnamon, and I think it's delicious. I have it every morning lately. This is what I have. And on top of this, I have my fat smoothie made with the hemp seeds and the flax seeds, and yeah, so it's been a good morning ritual that I have. But anyway, yeah, that's how James differs from mine, and that's all I have to talk about. It's good slushy weather. Mine has no additional sugar, it's just the sugar from the fruit, and I think it's delicious. So anyway, would you want to try my slushie and see if you think it's delicious?
Later on.
Oh, you don't want to know?
Well, I've got a mouthful of stuff, and I can't just swallow stuff out.
All right.
With the esophagus that I've got right now. Gotta chew it down. Might take 5 minutes, I don't know. And the cauliflower those are cauliflower slices.
Brussels sprouts?
Brussels sprouts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're tired.
Well, I always make that mistake. But, yeah, this sweet. Drowsy. But those Brussels sprouts are hard for me to chew and hard for me to swallow. I'm just taking my time with things, but I'm glad I got that greenie, or a smoothie. I call them greenies, but they're smoothies, right?
Well, that's green just smoothie. A juice.
Okay, so juice, yeah. I'm glad I got that down.
Yeah, that was juice made from Brussels sprouts and red bell pepper. I don't remember what all.
It actually went down relatively easily. So I'm going to give this a try.
Sure, me as well. See if you like it.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Good.
I like sweet, so it's not as sweet as some of the stuff I like. It's refreshing on a day like today. You're serving it up for pretty cool. Right? So we had not an overly challenging hike. It was a little bit.
No, just went fun. Oh, you mean today? Yeah, today we just went to Alexander Brothers. Hiked around.
But we had a fairly substantial hike yesterday.
If you think so.
For this time of year, it's substantial.
Okay.
And my back was kind of feeling it today.
Yeah, this is way better with the fake cheese on it. But I mean, that adds a lot of fat and stuff.
Yeah, you gotta
And a lot of
gotta
sodium.
be careful when you're eating that stuff.
No, I don't have anything else. You can talk.
Yep. Back to Jim Garrison. So, I'm not sure if Jim Garrison, I think he kind of realized that
I can do this. Maybe that won't work.
the head of the mafia in New Orleans and also in Texas. Also, probably in Arkansas, Mississippi.
I hope that works.
Maybe a bit in Alabama. Was deeply involved in the assassination of JFK. Maybe he didn't know about it, but you know, in here he talks about taking on crime in New Orleans and cleaning up the mafia in New Orleans, or underworld in New Orleans. He didn't, and he barely talks about the mafia's involvement in JFK's assassination. All the major figures admitted to being involved in the assassination, and it's not so much admitting in some cases. It was like Sam Giancana, the head of the mafia in Chicago, was kind of boasting about it. It's like, yeah, we did it, you know. Wasn't giving credit to anyone else. And one of the key things is when these guys were going to have to, when they started talking in the 70s, or when they were required to give testimony in front of various commissions, he ended up seriously dead, all except for Carlos Marcello, or Marcello's probably the better way of pronouncing his name, Marcello. And he's, I think, was, when it comes to the mafia, was the leading figure. Sam Giancana, head of the mafia in Chicago, ended up dead. Santos Trafficante, I've seen it rendered either way. The head of the mafia, not just, he centered out of Tampa Bay, but in Florida, probably Georgia, or a substantial part of Georgia, probably part of Alabama. He ended up seriously dead. Johnny Rosselli, I suspect, was killed by Santos Trafficante. Johnny Rosselli was a major mafia figure in Las Vegas, and I think in Los Angeles as well, Southern California. He ended up seriously dead in Santos Trafficante's territory, Miami area. He ended up in a barrel, maybe an oil barrel or something like that, all chopped up. He'd been strangled maybe first before being chopped up, and in the Bay of Biscayne. So the Bay of Biscayne is kind of like south of Miami, but it's basically surrounded by Miami. It's down in north, not surrounded, but right next door to Miami. Bay of Biscayne, Biscayne Bay, I think is what they call it. So there you go. All those three guys, and they were major mafia figures, ended up dead. Santos Trafficante killed, I'm pretty sure, had Johnny Rosselli killed. And you know, like, he hailed from the other side of the United States. I don't know who ended up, which one of those figures ended up killing Sam Giancana, but I suspect it was one of them. And that's the head of Chicago mafia, a head. But the one guy who didn't die was Carlos Marcello, and I figure he was either the most important of them or the most ruthless. Santos Trafficante was pretty ruthless. Like, he killed, who was it? I don't know if it's Lucky Luciano, but it was a major mafia figure. So Santos Trafficante's working out of Tampa Bay, controls Florida. But it was Anastasia. Was it Alberto Anastasia? And I think it was oftentimes they like, I'm not sure why. Why would you kill someone in a restaurant? But I think Anastasia was gunned down in a barber shop. Was he getting a shave? And something like that. So I don't know. Was someone saying that figured in? I've never seen the Godfather movie. There were 3 of them. You've seen none of them either, right?
No, I've seen them when I watched them when I was a teenager because
it's a thing to do.
Muffy was interesting.
Okay, so Muffy's a little bit older than Paula, but quite a bit older.
But I didn't know why I watched it. I thought,
was there a killing in a barber shop or something?
How would I know?
I don't
remember anything about it.
Yeah, I know.
I didn't care. I wasn't into them.
Yeah, my brother, who loved movies, kind of like refused to watch movies about the mafia and stuff like that. And in many ways...
You just found them dull?
I think it was a matter of principle. Like, he didn't like the idea of the mafia. Funny thing is, just because you don't like the idea doesn't mean you close your eyes to it. So, he had the same problem with Islam.
Well, I just don't find it interesting.
Well, I don't find it terribly interesting. There's no mystery there. It's just like they get away with murder, literally. Multiple murders, and they're serial killers. People are going, Ted Bundy, serial killer. Yeah, the best serial killers in terms of being successful, the worst, really, are the mafia. Or
I do find it interesting listening to you talk about the JFK.
Well, they got away with it, and it's the big trouble is the powers that be covered it up, but they weren't involved. The real powers that be. I'm going to be reviewing a book by a real stupid Catholic left-winger. Douglas is his last name, spelled A-S-S at the end. Why would I emphasize those 3 letters? You figure it out. Douglas. And he's blaming, like LBJ, and I don't know if he entirely blames J. Edgar Hoover, the CIA, all of them, all the way up to, not to the top, because McComb was a Kennedy appointee, but Dick Helms,
brain freeze.
Yeah, it's just like over the top. Like who, the autopsy wasn't botched. The autopsy. Now understand, JFK's brain is missing. It's what was left of it. Well, I think it was supposed to be, maybe, judging from the view various doctors got of it, is maybe a third left. But the third left is missing. Like in the real world, in the cop world or whatever. Like when you're doing an autopsy and whatever, all that sort of stuff, in any sort of murder case where, things haven't been solved, you don't lose evidence like that. Like killing of a president, you hold on to it, you put it on ice or whatever, you don't lose it. The brain is missing. That doesn't happen. So the autopsy was botched. There are pictures of the back of JFK's head where you can see, say, here it is, Pauline. Like here's the back of his head, hair there, and there's a flap so it's totally covered, and then there's a flap, they call it the bat wing. There's a flap of skull hanging here. Where does that fit? You see, it got blown away like this, and that got blown here. It was still hanging. I guess during the autopsy it fell off. But when they're so stupid, when they're taking the picture from the back, they've got a hand here. It's obviously holding on this hunk of skull on the back, and then there's a hunk of skull hanging out here that, like if you flap it back down, it would be covering this. They took another corpse's back of the skull and put it, with hair on it, and put it on the back. And they're saying, oh, this is John F. Kennedy. Okay. There are 22 witnesses, medical witnesses from Dallas, who saw him when they were trying to save his life. It was just hopeless. Jackie Kennedy didn't want to give up his corpse, what his corpse she said, he's dead. I just want to cuddle with him.
Mm.
You know? But 22, the initial testimony from 22, or not so much testimony because it didn't come to court. 21 of the 22 said the killing wound came from the front. The killing shot came from the front. Okay? Then all of a sudden people were telling, giving the phone calls, hey, you'd better say it was from the back or else your life is in danger. Now, that was coming from people like the CIA and the FBI, okay? They were getting visits from men in black suits telling them, you'd better hush up about it or whatever. And enough people were getting killed by the mafia that people were just frightened out of their wits. Their shorts were getting brown and stuff like that. People clammed up, so on and so forth. But the initial testimony or witnessing by the people who saw him in Dallas, 21 of the 22 said it was an entry wound in the front, and then the back of his head was an exit wound.
I don't know how you can be wearing a coat out here.
Yeah, I'm susceptible to cold. It's just the way. Anyway, yeah, I know. Anyway, you're in the sun. I'm more in the shade. So it's the autopsy. It wasn't botched. It was total cover-up. The official autopsy. But the one book that you were using yesterday to hold up the camera and stuff like that, they realize why that cover-up happened. I think it was a mistake. It was done in a military hospital, on a basically military, I wouldn't call it necessarily base, but in Bethesda, Maryland, just outside of Washington. And is it a 17-story building? Anyway, up at the top of it, Jackie Kennedy was there, and Bobby Kennedy was there. Now, Bobby Kennedy was the Attorney General. In other words, he was the boss of the whole justice system in the United States. Now, the doctors at the autopsy, many of them, or some of them at least, when they were less afraid, when their shorts were a little less brown, they came out and said, look, I know we were told to say this, and we were scared because they were members of the military. They're on a military site, and they were saying the people in the room, they said it was full of generals and admirals. And there was one admiral who was giving the orders to everyone else. And he was saying, do this, do that. Hey, when you're in the military, what happens if you don't obey an order?
Yeah.
You get court-martialed. But the guys who wrote this one book about the cover-up, and they emphasize mainly the mafia. They're kind of covering up for the elements of the CIA that were involved, like E. Howard Hunt, so on and so forth. They say on that 17th floor that he wasn't down there, but he was phoning. They were on the phone to him. Was a guy called Bobby Kennedy. That's the brother of John F. Kennedy. And he's the one who's telling them to do this fake autopsy. Why did he do it? They got hold of, under Clinton, tons, I think it was 2 million documents were released that had to do with all this sort of stuff. The assassination, other things that were involved, Cuba, so on and so forth. 2 million documents. And these guys are going through and they're saying, hey, there's a guy that no one's ever talked about, Harry Williams. I think his name was Enrique something or other, his real name. He was Cuban. And Kennedy was working with him. Actually, this Harry Williams was at the Bay of Pigs. And Bay of Pigs was a total failure, and it was a real failure for him because he ended up, if I'm not mistaken, being taken prisoner by Castro. And finally they were, the Kennedy administration was able to get these guys released. And Harry Williams was working with Bobby Kennedy. And what they were doing, like Kennedy was saying, okay, after the Cuban Missile Crisis, we are going to promise not to invade Cuba so long as you, Fidel Castro, get those atomic weapons, and apparently there are 162 nuclear warheads there in Cuba, and that stupid Khrushchev had actually given the Cubans the key to the kingdom. In other words, hey guys, you can launch it if you want. Wow. Castro was a catastrophe. He was just a total dingbat. Of course, Khrushchev was too, but there you go. So, and there was an agreement that there would be inspectors to make sure that these weapons were off. Mm-hmm. Guess what? Castro and Khrushchev went back on that agreement. Mm-hmm. Now Kennedy sweetened the deal by saying, "Hey, we'll take missiles out of Turkey, right next door to Russia." And Khrushchev and this stupid guy who wrote this huge condemnation of CIA and American military was saying, well, that's tit for tat. No, it's not. Because Cuba was taken over by the communists, whereas they never, and it had been kind of like a bit of a fiefdom for the Americans and the mafia and so on and so forth. But
it's okay. It's only as a couple. There we go. Perfect.
So
put
Turkey
a hat on the couch.
Turkey had never been controlled by, in any way, shape, or form, by the communists or the Russians before them. So it's not like, oh, it's a balancing off. So he sweetened the deal. Took missiles out of Turkey. I think there was another place or a few others where he took the missiles out. And he's going, hey, Kennedy actually went to Harvard and he got through. He graduated with not just with high honors, but the highest honors. And so he wasn't stupid. All you stupid commie fellow travelers, he wasn't stupid. He was smarter than Jimmy Carter, smarter than you. So, not smarter than me, but there you go. Like I qualified for a couple of Ivy League universities for grad studies. I don't think he even did. Now that's not officially qualified, but I got a professor to volunteer to get me to those universities. Unfortunately, I ended up getting cancer. Couldn't go into those universities because the stress would kill me. But Kennedy is smarter than you. Okay? So just, like, don't grind your teeth down to the gums or anything like that. It's just the truth. So Kennedy's going, they haven't agreed to inspections. So my agreement to not invade Cuba is no longer operative. Now he said, okay, I don't want to invade Cuba. I want Cuba to have a real revolution. The original revolution was hijacked by Fidel Castro. Many of the people working with Bobby Kennedy, amongst the Bay of Pigs veterans, for example, Harry Williams, were left-wingers who'd helped bring the revolution in and then were shunted aside by Fidel Castro. This is the way communists operate. That's what they did when they took over in the Soviet Union. They didn't have the real revolution. They just had a putsch that sidelined that revolution, carried out by the Mensheviks. So Bobby Kennedy in particular was working for JFK, for the whole free United States and for the whole free world, to get rid